Oh, it started. I did not I did not think it would start.
Saw the money ain't got activated. Saw the money ain't got activated. Saw that money ain't got activated. I saw that money ain't got activated. Canada Goose. Keep me wearing my cold city. I got a pole with me. Black Horse 450.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the second part of the rewiring of the first gen. There were some things that we did off camera just because, like I've said before, I don't like to videotape things that I'm like learning, which I'm not really learning, but there was a lot to like process, so I'm still gonna go over it and everything. But we got majority of our main power wires, I shouldn't say majority, but a decent amount of our main power wires wired up. So basically the wires that you see here all come from the main fusible link block. So let me see, I thought I threw it over here somewhere. It's right here. So I cut it all up to kind of see what it looked like on the inside, but normally this would be like one big Y piece, and basically all your fusible links come in over here, and it gets power from like one main power wire that goes to the battery terminal, right? So over here would be all your fusible links, which if you're not familiar with what fusible links are or do, they're basically just fuses, but they're made into the wire, and basically it just cooks the wire on the inside, and it breaks the current and basically acts as a fuse, but it's a lot more of a pain to kind of diagnose, find, replace. They're just outdated, terrible design, but that's kind of the purpose in replacing this. These trucks just have really terrible wiring, so we're just gonna kind of take care of everything at once. But basically all of our main power wires that you see there are the ones that come from this. Now I'm pretty sure most of them, if not all of them, are ignition. They go back to the ignition in some type of way or form. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember exactly what each one is, but they all are powered. So basically all we have left for things that have anything to do with the truck running are this main power here, which we're going to take to this post here because it just needs power, and that's what's going to supply the power to the fuse or to this panel. And then we have to get where to go. Oh, it's right here. So basically we got to extend this wire. This is for the alternator, the constant power to the alternator. So we're just going to take this and run it over to our main power post right here. So I ordered a bunch of wire. I thought that it was 10 gauge. It's obviously very clearly not 10 gauge. So, or I thought the wire that on the truck was 10 gauge, but it's not. So we still need this wiring and stuff for like grounds and whatnot, and other power stuff that we're gonna need in the future. Got all this stuff, nice heat shrink stuff. This is what I'm gonna use for our ground. All the fuses we're gonna need. And then so basically what I was getting at is we're gonna have to go to the parts store and see if we can get the, I'm assuming this is like 8 gauge. So we're gonna have to go get some 8 gauge wire and some 8 gauge connectors. If we can't get them there, no big deal, we'll order it online and we'll just have to wait. It'll be in the same video for you guys regardless, but that's pretty much it. The only things that we have left power wise are accessory stuff in the truck, which should be pretty easy. Just got to rerun everything in there, and then, you know, get it all out here. But I mainly wanted to worry about getting the harness done so we can pull the harness back out and re-loom it and all that stuff, because all of that accessory stuff won't tie into this looming, just because I want to make it easy to pull or check anything if needed. So that'll all be on its own like little separate harness that comes out of the truck, and it'll all be on this side, so it can go straight from there to here. Makes it look nice and neat. And yeah, so I don't want to blob on too much longer. I'm gonna go and see if we can get those wires and that wiring and those connectors, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we got the correct gauge wire that we needed. We just cut this main power supply wire, which is going to feed our fuse box with power right here. We got this nice copper deal here, so we're gonna put this on there, heat shrink it, and then we'll have our main power there. Then we just got to take the alternator wire, run it over, and that's basically it for our main powers. And we'll catch up then. Sorry there's not a lot of like filming of me doing this stuff. It's kind of hard with the way that the engine bay is set up to really set the camera up, but I'll try and make up for it. Okay, so we just got done running our grounds. We decided to solder this main joint back here, which we're going to tape that up and heat shrink it and everything. It's just a really thick wire, so this type of butt connector we had to use is pretty large. It's like more of like a crimp style. Got our ground here. We're gonna change the coating on all these, but we got our fuses in. So I have this chart here that I had laminated, and basically for the gauge wire it shows you what amperage fuse you should use. So majority of the wires are 10 gauge, or no, I should say, sorry, majority of the wires are about 12 gauge, so it's 18.6. You just put like a 20 amp fuse in that. So we put a 20 amp fuse in most of them, and then we have some 10 gauge wires which we use a 30 amp. So that's kind of self-explanatory. So if you guys want to, you can screenshot this if you want, so you guys have that. But yeah, so I guess we're gonna hook the ground up to the battery post here, and ideally we should have we should be able to turn the ignition on, and the truck should turn on, I think. So okay, so at first we got everything hooked up, turned the key on, and there was nothing, and I was like, awesome, this isn't gonna go as smooth as I thought. Then I started looking and I forgot the main body ground. Where's it at? I literally lost it. Oh, you can barely see it right up there. The main body ground, that's what gives the whole harness ground. Kind of forgot about that. It's kind of crazy that that's as small as that wire. Yeah, I don't know. And then we got every power in there, but then the truck wouldn't crank, and I forgot to plug in those big guys there. So the truck does crank, so that's exciting. That means we did something right, and it seems like everything in here is working. Turn signals and all that stuff are flashing. Oh, it started. I did not think it would start. And I have all that stuff sitting up there. So it starts, it runs, which isn't that hard for a 12 valve. The main thing I was hoping to fix with rewiring this whole thing was, you know, so many things that didn't work, so many things that just acted weird. Like for example, when this truck would be running, idling, you would see that the lights and everything would pulse and stuff, which probably comes down to poor grounds and stuff like that. So, you know, this whole time we were hunting for wire, right? For thick gauge wire, and when we literally have a bunch of it right here. Like it didn't even register in my mind that that was there. We'll probably use that to make more grounds, because I want to put as many grounds on this thing as I can to eliminate that as an issue. But we're gonna make that a stopping point for tonight, and it'll be a couple seconds for you guys, but I'll catch you guys in a couple seconds. I obviously haven't really filmed me doing the work, just because this is one of those things that's kind of tricky for me to get the right angles and stuff to film, and I don't have someone that's just going to film everything for me. So we're basically done with the main harness. We got all of our looming on. We are probably going to loom these, but I wanted to wait and see how they kind of hit the fuse box before we officially loomed this section up. And then we can't loom this yet because we got to run some wire there. But everything else is nice and loomed up. We had to cut the turn signal socket and both turn signal sockets off of both sides, so we had to resplice and heat shrink all those. So this thing's pretty much ready to go back in the truck. I'm hoping that this little bit of looming left will be enough to hide our accessory wiring, which it should be plenty, because I'm hoping to run just like a little harness just straight from there to there, so we should have plenty. I think I'm going to set the harness back in the truck. We're not going to hook everything up yet, and then we'll come back up here and wire everything up. So already got the harness in the truck. It's not like permanently where it should be, but everything's in. You can see we got the anteater sitting next to this. These still have to be permanently mounted. We got all that stuff in there. Then we got the dash for the most part back together. Move that gauge to right there and move some stuff around. The good news is everything works except for the RPM gauge, and I just cut the wire to it and tested, and it's not getting tack signal for some reason. That might be something we just cut our losses with, because I think that is somewhere in the loom, and I'm not tearing the loom back apart just to have tack signal. Don't care that much when it comes to diesel trucks and automatic transmissions. RPM just isn't something that you really have to monitor a bunch, but this thing also isn't a race truck, so it doesn't really matter. And then the other issue we ran into is our alternator. So you have your main alternator power feed, and I brought it over to right here. Don't mind this. I did that to see if that was the issue, and it kept popping fuses, which now that it's happening, I'm kind of realizing that was inevitable. It was going to happen. So basically what we'll probably have to do is we won't run that wire to a fuse in here. We'll probably run an inline fuse so we can get a bigger, nicer fuse, and then we'll just take it from this main power source here. So that way we're not restricting this wire any, or we're not restricting the alternator any, and the last thing we want is to overheat the wire and cause a fire or something like that. So sounds like I'm gonna have to get a pretty big amperage fuse. According to this chart, we need like a 70 amp fuse, so we'll have to sort that out. But I did jump it there and the alternator started charging, so that was the issue. So we'll just have to sort that out. But for the most part, guys, the wiring is done. I'm not going to bore you guys a ton with more stuff. I'll just kind of briefly go over what we did, because that's what matters most. Watching me do the work, it's not really that hard rewiring it. It's really knowing what to rewire. So to keep it short and simple, this fuse box basically deletes the fusible link block, which the fusible link block is this thing right here. This is where all your main powers come from. So basically you delete this, throw that in the trash, and you run real fuses, and you just cut and splice all the fusible links and run them straight to a fuse, and you give this power and this ground, and then this is all of our accessory wires over here. These are grounds up here, and that's pretty much it. The other things that we did was we deleted the grid heater harness or wiring. We deleted the AC and the AC compressor wiring, and the condenser and evaporator wiring. and the windshield washer tank wiring, I think. Oh no, we kept that. What was the other thing? Can't remember. There was one other thing that we deleted out of the harness, and all that stuff is pretty easy, pretty simple. The biggest thing is having the diagrams, which I will send to anyone that asks. I'm not gonna go through the effort of trying to put them all somewhere for everyone to see, because I don't know. If you want them, comment below and we can get in touch. I will be sure to send them to you, because there's like, I have 25 pictures of wiring schematics for this truck. So yeah, that's really it as far as rewiring this thing. It wasn't all that difficult. It's definitely time consuming, and to do it the right way does cost a little bit of money, but it is totally worth it. I mean, so many things are already working on the truck that weren't before, so that's super dope. But yeah guys, that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. If you guys have any questions, comment below, or message me on Instagram. You can message me on Stack Like Zach, which is my main Instagram, or you can message the business page, which is Maxdout Mafia. You're more likely to get a response out of me there, just because I get less messages and it's easier to respond. So that'll be it guys. I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.